KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. 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 Follow the leader.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule. 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DePrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. With hopes that black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DePrima. Go sis. Go sis.
First things first.
Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. This show is called First Things First. My first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praise, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and let's get it going. This is what we do on this show most days. Hour 1, we look to the local. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond. And then the third hour, we do a deep dive with a person on or with a topic of interest. And today will be pretty much that. You're welcome to call in anytime you want, 800-920-1580. I love to engage with you. Whether we agree or disagree is not the point. The point is we are mixing it up. We are defending our positions. We are elevating our intellectual discourse, or sometimes we're just having fun. All that is important. I want to remind you to follow, like, subscribe to us. Talk back to us, not just on the air, but also on all of the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook. I'm broadcasting on YouTube right now with my 6:07 in the morning face. So go to youtube.com and go type in KBLA 1580. You'll get the video that goes with the audio. And I do want to remind you that all of the conversations that we have are available on our YouTube channel, KBLA 1580, but also wherever you get your podcasts. So say you missed the conversation I had with Pete White on Monday, Pete White of LA Community Action Network, which was a really interesting and in-depth dialogue about the unhoused, unsheltered persons, challenge that we have as a state and as a nation. You could just go to the KBLA app, which hopefully is on your phone. You can go wherever you get your podcast and just type it in, and boom, you will find it. And there's so many great conversations to be had. A really fascinating one yesterday between Tavis Smiley and Marianne Williamson, who's running for president, but is also incredible self-help writer. That's also available on our website, wherever you get your podcast. Look for First Things First. Look for KBLA 1580. So there is a lot going on all around this side of the coast, right? Our own front door. And sometimes we super focus just on the city of Los Angeles or the neighborhood of Leimert Park, where I'm sitting right now. But we aim to include the entire Southern California region in these morning hours, these first hours of the show. We're doing that today. We take a look at some of the things going on in the Inland Empire, or at least put an IE lens on things that are going on throughout the state of California. The executive director of the Inland Empire Black Worker Center is joining me this morning. Dr. Nosakhere Thomas, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you this morning?
I'm blessed. How you doing?
I'm doing outstanding. It's so good to be with you. I grew up in Southern California listening to 1580 K-Day at the time, but so excited to be on.
Right, and of course now it's KBLA, and we are
Yes.
all black, all talk, of course, all progressive, and all progressive voices are welcome. Actually, we welcome all voices, because if you're talking some nonsense, we're ready to mix it up with you on a moment's
Sure.
notice. So we speak a lot with the LA Black Workers Center, but yours is the first Black Worker Center in the Inland Empire, and I guess I always think of the Inland Empire. A lot of the Black folks there used to live here, right, and moved out
That's
there.
right.
In many cases, seeking more affordable housing or safer communities or whatever the reasons for moving, but I never think of a job crisis there, because you figure people move to get things more affordable or more feel safer, but clearly they must have jobs out there for Black folks, or people wouldn't be moving out there. Apparently, that's not true.
No, not the case. Well, as you know, Dominique, there has been a Black job crisis in this country since the 70s. So the better part of my life, for sure. And it is no different in the Inland Empire. So Black folks in the Inland Empire are roughly 8% of 300 and approximately 30 million people, and 330,000 people, I'm sorry. And so our unemployment rate is right at about 8%. And what we also discover is that we have the highest rates of unemployment and the highest rates of poverty right in these two of the largest counties in the country, San Bernardino, Riverside counties.
So the population is at 8% of African Americans, you're saying, in that region, and the Black unemployment rate is at 8%. That doesn't, it's higher, obviously higher than the national average, but it doesn't sound like some of the alarming rates that we've heard, at other times when it comes to Black workers. And yet, poverty rate is highest among African Americans in that region. How do you, is it? It sounds like people have jobs and they're just not paying.
Yeah. Well, to put it in perspective, so Black unemployment is about 8%. White unemployment is about 5%, right? And Latinx unemployment is right at about 6.7%. So it's two things. We aren't getting as many jobs, and when we do get jobs, we're actually underemployed. So you're actually correct.
So meaning you get those part-time jobs and you can never get enough hours to really pay your bills.
Correct. And they're working 2 and 3 and 4 jobs sometimes to try to make ends meet. And so our goal as the Inland Empire Black Worker Center is to help folks find family-sustaining wage opportunities, be it through unions or other high roads employers.
So how's that going?
Well, we're meeting some success. We're excited about what's going on. As you know, this report came out just a few days ago, published by the Center for Advancement of Racial Equity at Work at UCLA. And we've started this new model working with IEBWC, and it's a pre-apprenticeship program, particularly for the water industry, understanding that if we can get folks into this water sector, they can get higher paying jobs. These are union jobs, high road employers, and they can penetrate this market. And what we've found historically is that this space has been primarily for white folks and white men. And so we've tried to, in our efforts to impact the industry, we've tried to focus on recruiting Blacks, recruiting Latinx, recruiting women, recruiting justice-impacted persons. And we've been successful with that so far. We've done 2 cohorts. We're currently in second or third week of cohort number 3, and we're making some inroads. And so we're excited about that. In our first cohort, we had about 50% who were actually employed in the water industry. So we're excited about these outcomes.
Okay, I want to talk more about that, like what is it about this model that's successful? And when we come forward, and also I'm sure some people are listening going, why are you recruiting Latinx? Latinx people are the ones that are more employed than we are, and many times it seems like, this is the feedback I've been getting for years, those folks are pushing Black people out of jobs and out of job sites, particularly in the construction business. I want to get your thoughts on that, because that sounds like it's not your model. So let's look at that when we come forward. That and more on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward. You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time, because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
To my hometown, my community. Some of you have known me my whole life. Do you notice anything different about the kids in the neighborhood? Ever paid attention? You might start with gifts, money, attention. These are signs. Child trafficking is happening right here in this town. So don't just watch through the window. Pay attention. Because the more we know, the more we'll all know to say no. Learn the signs to look for and how to help at no-to-say-no.com.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominic DePrima right now.
Right now, we're looking to the left coast with the executive director of the Inland Empire Black Worker Center, Dr. Nosakhere Thomas. And that doctor in your name, it hides a lot of things that you've done over the years. Of course, you have a consulting and coaching company, but you've worked in, as a loan officer, a marketing director, a real estate investor, a therapist, an accountant, a chaplain, an author, and also a pastor.
Yeah.
So you've had a lot of different jobs yourself now. So you know a thing or two about pivoting, about reinventing, about work outside of the IE Black Worker Center. And it seems like this is one of the confusing questions. Maybe you can answer it. I keep hearing from the corporate sector and small business that they can't find good workers. And then I hear from workers, including the LA Black Worker Center and now you, saying that the good jobs aren't out there, or that black people aren't getting the good jobs. Is it because by good worker they don't mean us? I mean, I don't understand that gap.
Right. Yeah. So I think historically there have been systemic anti-black kind of racist things that have kept us out of the marketplace. It could be our names. There's been research done by the University of Chicago that showed that if a name, all things equal, and the name sounded black, then they were discarded, not given interviews, not given opportunities. So, and sometimes once we get there, then our color is an issue, our skin tone, our hair is an issue. So there are, lots of reasons why they discriminate against us before they see us and then after they see us. So that exists and has been existing for years. And I think there are, jobs there, particularly after COVID. We've lost workers. You've had retirements to take place. And so there are jobs that are existing. But again, we are not favored in the industry. And they say they can't find skilled workers. That's because they're not recruiting for them. They're not looking for them. And this is why what we do is so important, because what we say is we will help you find them, and we have a prepared group that's ready to go in on day one and to do the work in the particular industry of note.
Right. So if someone's out that way and they're trying to find a job or level up from having to work 3 or 4 part-time jobs or 2 or 3 full-time minimum wage jobs, they should reach out to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to be able to help them. Our pre-apprenticeship program only takes in 15 each cohort. We do that twice a year. But we have other opportunities, and we are acquainted with other high-road employers, and we have other partnerships and collaborations where we can help them find those family-sustaining, high-road employment opportunities.
So it's IEBWC.org, IEBWC.org, as in Inland Empire Black Worker Center.org. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
That's correct. That's correct.
So let's tackle this question. You said that working, looking at the study that just came out and the work that you're doing, you framed it as recruiting Black and Latinx workers. And the complaint that I hear a lot from Black workers is that we're pushed out, excluded, or discriminated against by Latine people on jobs, specifically construction, where whether it's language or, family ties or whatever it might be, Black workers are not welcome, and Latino workers are networking in. How do you justify that, or how does that work with a Black worker center recruiting Latino workers? Unless they're Afro-Latinos, which is a whole other. Okay.
Yeah, very good question, actually. So our work was established as a grant from Federal Department of Education, also California Workforce Board. And again, it was this creation of this IE Works was kind of a mirroring of the Bay Works program that started in the Bay Area with Jewish Vocational Services. And again, what they wanted to do is to put people of color to work, right? And so what they asked us to do is to partner with them to be the actual host for the training, help to design the curriculum, and do recruiting of Black people in particular. So what I would say to you is that we have partners, and our job as the Inland Empire Black Worker Center is to find the Black folks who are part of our community and recruit them for this program. But in addition to us, there are other organizations like Operation New Hope that partnered with us. They looked at those who were involved in the justice system without regard for whether they're being Black or Latinx. And then there was the Leela Project that reached out specifically to the Latinx community, right? And so you had these groups or partners who were recruiting in these specific areas. So our specific recruitment went out to the Black community, Black workers who needed to kind of level up. And I'm happy to say that through our recruitment efforts, very vigorous, we've been able to do right at about an 80-20 split. So that's meaning 80% Black, 20% Latinx. So that's, and I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with that because the monies are for, people of color in general, and we're partnering with other groups. And so that's kind of how this shakes out.
Do you hear those conversations that I'm talking about from Black workers that you're
absolutely
interacting?
Absolutely. And we're mindful of those. But I also think that some of those conversations are derived from a position of scarce and lack. And so we believe that the resources are there. We just need to really lobby and organize and build power to get the resources that are existing, and that, we don't have any enemies. And if Black people rise, all boats rise, and everybody gets better as Black people come up.
Yeah, I believe that. I think that scarcity mentality is what is meant to keep us fighting like crabs in a barrel. But there are concerns, that people always bring up. So, of course, they have to be addressed.
Absolutely.
Along those lines, everybody's on strike. Well, not everybody, but the actors and the actors, right. The writers, the hotel workers. Looks like soon UPS, which they're saying could be one of the biggest strikes we've ever seen in this country. And obviously the Black Workers Center is not on strike per se, but put these things in context for me as far as, your idea about lifting every boat. I think it's true. If Black people are on the bottom in terms of the white supremacist system that we live under, meaning we're going to be paid less, we're going to be last hired, first fired, or, we're going to have the less desirable jobs if the system is left to itself, if we don't organize. Then that means when we start to thrive, obviously it pushes everyone else up. Is that what you're kind of saying here?
Yes, I believe that 100%.
Do you think that's true of unions also?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in every sector of society, I think that as Black people come up, everybody does better. That's what the whole diversity, equity, and inclusion movement is about. So as a company becomes more diverse, their bottom line actually gets better. There's more creativity. So we've seen this kind of data over and over and over again.
Yeah. So then how do you account for the anti-DEI movement? How do you account for, the massive exodus of Black women in DEI space, and at the same time you've got this move in Florida by the man I like to call DeSatan to outlaw DEI on college campuses, which to me is a precursor to outlawing it in government and then pushing it out of the private sector. If that's anti-profit, it seems foolish, but that looks like the direction we're heading in. How do you make sense out of that?
Yeah, well, the system, it talks about, being created, this country for all people to have access, but that's just not the case. It hasn't been the case. I think also what we're seeing is an action-reaction kind of formation. So I think most people would agree that when Barack Obama was elected president, the reaction to his having been elected as president was Donald Trump, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So then we have a George Floyd in the summer of 2020, and for the first time, the world sees what we've been living and that is the state-sponsored killing of Black bodies, Black people, Black humanity. So for the very first time, the world saw that. And so because of that, it pulled on their heartstrings, and they began to give. They began to create these DE&I positions, and they began to open doors and earmark money and so forth and so on. And so that was a reaction. And now here we are just, 3 years later, and now we've got another reaction to the reaction.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. And we knew in the nonprofit sector, we've seen it before. It happened after Rodney King. We knew that the money wouldn't last forever. We knew that the fervor, the guilt, or the humanity, we knew it wouldn't last forever.
Right. Hold that thought. In fact, a lot of it never came through. It was just announced and turned out to be a mirage. We're talking with Dr. Nosakhere Thomas of the Inland Empire Black Worker Center, and you're welcome in the conversation. It's news, traffic, and sports right now, though, on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
It's a Thursday, July 20th. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is coming to the defense of former President Trump for his actions centered around the January 6th Capitol attack. McCarthy said he doesn't see how Trump can be found criminally responsible, asking what criminal activity he did. He also suggested that Trump told people to be peaceful. This next story comes out of Louisiana, where a new monument honoring African-American military veterans is now in place on the Southern University campus. The bronze monument is the creation of New Orleans artist Sheila Jones. It's more than 9 feet tall and 12 feet wide and depicts military heroes from the American Revolution through the Space Force, including the Tuskegee Airmen and the Buffalo Soldiers. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Now your ideas don't have to wait. Dell Technologies and Intel are pushing what technology can do, so great ideas can happen right now. Find out how to bring your ideas to life at Dell.com. Welcome to now.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
More health issues for first-year Colorado football coach Deion Sanders. Deion will have surgery this morning to remove blood clots in his right leg. He will miss the Pac-12 Conference Media Day Friday in Las Vegas. Deion had surgery on June 22nd to remove blood clots in his left leg. Deion posted on Instagram yesterday that he will be ready to coach his new team when preseason camp starts next month. The New York Jets are the first NFL team to open training camp. They hit the field yesterday in Florham Park, New Jersey. The Chargers and Rams open up camp on Tuesday. Dodgers pitcher Julio Urias did not have a good day in Baltimore yesterday. Urias gave up a career-high 8 runs in 5 innings. Before the game, LSU women's basketball star Angel Reese, a Baltimore native, threw out the first pitch. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
In our community, mental health struggles can sometimes go unnoticed. The suicide rate among Black youth has risen faster than any other ethnic group. Only 1 in 3 African Americans who need mental health care receives it. African American women are only half as likely as their Caucasian counterparts to seek professional mental health services. Even those who guide us spiritually can sometimes face their own challenges. 45% of pastors say they've experienced depression or burnout to the extent they need to take a leave of absence from ministry. As people of faith, it's time to acknowledge it's okay not to be okay. You can pray and get help. Visit normalizehelp.org for more information and resources. Join us in raising mental health awareness in our community. Funded by the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health and the Champion Counseling Center of Faithful Central Bible Church.
I'm James Alexander, a proud member of AARP. 1967, I was 17. That spring, my friends, the Barcades, and I made Soulfinger. It was a hit. Number 3 on the charts. That summer, we became the great Otis Redding's band. First gig, the famed Apollo. That fall, we toured. That winter found me in a morgue identifying the bodies of my bandmates and Otis Redding. My music and their memories bring me joy. The Barcades forever.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black joy at aarp.org/Black community.
Okay, team, line's already around the block, and we're open in 10. Yesterday, we had 3-hour wait time.
Chef Pierre's staff is a little
Why
under-seasoned.
is this pot not boiling yet?
An experienced sous chef is the missing ingredient in his kitchen.
What do you mean, plate or a bowl? You work at La Pasta in La Cup.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm talking with Dr. Nosakhere Thomas from the Black Worker Center of the Inland Empire. It's the Inland Empire's first Black Worker Center, and their focus is on the jobs crisis that has been hitting our community. You say since the 70s. I'm assuming, Dr. Thomas, that you're talking about the end of so many of those manufacturing jobs that allowed African Americans to have a middle class lifestyle, own a home, put a child through college, working at a tire factory or something like that, a reality that's no longer in existence.
That's correct. I believe it's about right at about 1972, actually.
Yeah. So prior to that, your research shows we were employed, because I always thought it was, as soon as they had to start paying us. In other words, we had 100% employment throughout our enslavement, and then once we actually had to start getting remunerated for work, it didn't seem quite as fun to make us do it.
Right. Exactly. Precisely because they had to share the wealth with us. Right.
Yeah. So tell me what else when you talk about this this new report, which is really went live yesterday or something?
2 days ago.
Yeah. So what? Tell me what else came out of this that is of note.
Okay. So one of the things that we learned from this report is this is a unique model, right? So this model is what we call a community-centered workforce development program model, where we focus on the emotional, social well-being of the participant. So it's not just about understanding widgets or working on a particular physical skill set, but we're believing that it's a holistic approach that involves the emotion, the social, the mental, the health, the spiritual, and all of that, right? And so we have a cultural element. So one of the things that we understood was that if you're going to do this water work industry, there are state exams. For instance, water distribution 1, water distribution 2, water treatment 1, 2, so forth and so on, which help you get your, not only get the job, but it help you to advance and get promotions and increases and so forth. And it is very focused, math-centered. And so one of the things that we discovered is that there's a lot of trauma around math for Black people, right? Largely because of the communities that we grew up in that were adverse to us. They didn't know how to teach us, math, and so we grew up feeling some kind of way about that. So what our instructor does is he understands that, and he actually gives space to talk about the trauma of math.
Wow.
Right? And what that did to them and how they felt about that, and then looking forward to how we can move forward from that point. Then he gamifies math. He takes the math and he puts it in the context of football, right? And most play football. We have some women who may not watch football, engage football, even some men, but he gamifies it so that the emphasis is not on what they don't know and the trauma that they experience, but the fun that they're enjoying and the teamwork that they're experiencing as they work together. Our program works for the same reason HBCUs work, right? Your mentors look like you. Your instructors look like you. Their family, they want to invest in you. Our soft skills program is called Hustle and Flow, because we know we got to hustle, but we also got to flow, right? So this kind of perpetuates everything we do, whether it's the interview prep, the financial literacy, understanding the trauma around that, OSHA 10 training, the emotional intelligence, the resilience, our understanding about what it takes to get the job, what we have to do to stay on the job, how do we control our triggers, the microaggressions, so forth and so on. So those are very, very different ways of approaching this idea of pre-apprenticeship.
I'm laughing, but I'm only laughing because I think I need to take that class. I mean, those are some of the biggest challenges, right, that we face in in the job, in the workplace in general. Not as Black people, as women, and I suppose as workers of any background, is how do you deal with the microaggressions? How do you navigate that and not let them impact your performance? It sounds like you're dealing with the backstories of that, which come out of school, and the way that Black achievers are treated, starting when we're little kids.
That's right.
And it's working.
Yes, it is. It is. And so folks who were previously traumatized are now ready to engage it, and they're engaging it, and they're enjoying it, and it's like this new power and self-efficacy that they have to propel themselves to a place that was previously off limits.
Yeah. Well, and so when you say that, like, what data do you have? What evidence do you have that shows it's working? Because I know, and this is coming from the mama side, but this is always the debate with the parents. You're coddling them by, talking about their math trauma. They should just suck it up, and 1 + 1 = 2. Get it together, Black people.
Right. Yeah. So how do we know it's working?
Yeah.
So empirically, we know that those who weren't in these kinds of jobs now have these kind of jobs, and they're functioning on that. So empirically, we know that. Kind of anecdotally, we know that, and some have passed the state exam as well, which is largely math. Anecdotally, we have seen the confidence that has built up in these cohorts from the day one, having been introduced to math and having that trauma discussion, to mid-course, end of course, and the kind of confidence around doing it, participating in it, doing the math conversions, leading out in the math, being enthusiastic about the math, and just engaging the whole learning experience. And so we've seen it empirically, but we've seen it also qualitatively and anecdotally in the expressions, the feelings, the dispositions of the students themselves.
We're talking with Dr. Nosakhere Thomas, Executive Director of the Inland Empire Black Workers Center. If you want more info and you're not really great online, you can call 909-763-3710, 909-763-3710. It's not too late to talk to Dr. Thomas, 800-920-1580. We got a lot to address here in these headlines when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey LA, are you feeling the heat? LADWP has rebates up to $225 on new air conditioners to help you beat the heat and save money. Plus, you can sign up for Level Pay to get predictable monthly bills for easy budgeting. Stay cool. Visit LADWP.com/COOL-LA. That's LADWP.com/COOL-LA.
The family of Keenan Anderson is suing the city of Los Angeles for $100 million. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Keenan Anderson, a high school English teacher that was visiting Los Angeles from Washington, D.C., was tragically killed at the hands of the Los Angeles Police Department in January of this year. His family, alongside civil rights and personal injury attorney Benjamin Crump and Carl Douglas, have announced a $100 million lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles. Crump and Douglas are representing Keenan Anderson's son, Sincere Anderson, and his mother, Gabrielle Hansel. The family is suing for civil rights violations, assault and battery, false imprisonment, and negligence on the part of the LAPD officers. The family of Keenan Anderson and attorneys Crump and Douglas want it to be known that this is only part of a systemic issue within the fabric of police departments everywhere.
What's up, LA? The Reparationist community got something real special going down in historic Leimert Park. August 12th, 2023, this event is sponsored by Reparations United and Black Pact, fighting for justice and empowering our community. Together, we can make moves. We have an insane lineup for y'all. The sultry Rotimi, the king of LA, The Game, smooth Eric Benet, and none other than the powerful sounds of blackness. Also, we have some special guests in the house. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, State Senator Stephen Bradford, LA's beloved Councilwoman Heather Hutt, and many more. They're bringing their passion and leadership to the stage. Mark your calendars, August 12th, 2023, Leimert Park. Let's come together, support each other, and make a difference. Peace, love, and reparations benefit concert and unity rally. Be there or be left out. Produced by Tara Perry of Black Pact and Cam Howard of Reparations United.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Dr. Nosakhere Thomas is with us this morning from the Inland Empire Black Worker Center. And I want to make sure we don't do this conversation this morning without at least letting you talk about, the other things you guys do and what people ought to be reaching out for to you for, and how we could help.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for that. The Inland Empire Black Worker Center we were established in 2021, and from a report called Ain't No Sunshine, looking at what's going on in the Inland Empire, just understanding that we need a space to help advocate on behalf of Black workers, help to create jobs, and to advance policy, right, that is Black worker friendly and help bring dollars to Black workers and the Black community. So those are some of the things that we do. So what we need is we need volunteers to help us with our tabling efforts, with our outreach efforts. We need members. Because there's nothing like writing a piece of policy and saying that we have 500 members, right, that we represent, and that can show up at a city council meeting, a county board meeting, or even at the state capitol, for that matter, as we lobby to move pieces of legislation. And of course, we need funding, individual funding. We need corporate sponsors, private foundation funding, and it takes money to do this work. It's a great work, but it takes money to move it.
Yes, it does. So it's IEBWC.org, IEBWC.org, also 909-763-3710. 909-763-3710. Dr. Nosakhere Thomas, while I have you on, I want to ask you about a couple stories that are hitting Southern California, hitting the left coast, and just get your thoughts on them. In-N-Out Burgers, the chain, has announced it's going to ban their employees from wearing masks in 5 out of the 7 states where it has, branches. They're not trying this move in California, which is interesting. I think, they probably don't want to mess with California workers, which is good. I guess they see that we are on the march. But it's weird to me that now they're saying you're going to have a doctor's note in order to wear a mask. And they're saying it's because their customers can't hear people, their employees talking through the mask. I call BS. What do you think this is about?
Oh my goodness. Well, there has been this. COVID has been a really weird kind of situation because you can fall on either side, no matter what your kind of political or ideological perspective is. But let me just talk in terms of the science. So the science says that it is the best approach to dealing with the virus, right? So if we look at COVID, it's a virus like AIDS, for instance. So one of the best approaches to not getting AIDS or fending off yourself from another sexually transmitted disease would be to wear a condom. So the mask is the condom. It works. It's scientific. I mean, flu rates went down to a 20-year low as a result of wearing masks. So it's a particular agenda. It's, again, I think a pushback. I think that, there, quite frankly, are people who are tired of wearing the mask and don't want anything to do with it. But COVID's still here. It's real. I had COVID. I got it the week of the 4th of July.
I'm sorry.
It was my second. Yeah, it was my second time around. Thank God that the symptoms were the same but less severe than the first time. It's still here. It's still real. And the reality is, each time we get it, we're at greater risk for multi-organ complication and long COVID, right? So it's political.
Yeah, no, actually,
scientific.
that makes sense now that you're saying it, because I remember In-N-Out Burger during the height of the COVID restrictions made the news for refusing to check people's vaccination status, saying they didn't want to be the vaccine police for the government, which I understand that, but at the same time, I think it's a posturing that's meant to bring certain kinds of customers in at the expense of workers. Because to me, if I'm a worker and I want to protect myself from the customer's germs, and in the meantime, I'm protecting customers by not coughing on their food. To me, that shouldn't be controversial. I myself don't love wearing masks. I do. I do it because I think it's the courteous thing to do, and and also I don't want to get COVID, but I don't love wearing them. But I just think it's different when you talk about a policy where you're telling workers you're not allowed to protect yourself from an infectious disease which is still ravaging the planet. That's one of those make it make sense moments for me, Pastor. When we come forward, I want to ask you, speaking of workers and worker protections, about some of these tactics and conversations we're hearing in the actors' strike, and writers' strike. One executive quoted in Deadline LA saying, we're going to bleed them out. We're going to wait till they bleed out until they start losing their houses, and then we'll start to negotiate in earnest. Now the city is investigating the fact that NBC Universal cut down all the shade trees where the people were protesting during 90-degree weather so that the picketers would suffer in the heat. And that's under investigation now by the city, even though the studio says, we always do that. But then city records show they don't always do that. There has been no approval of cutting down those trees, which are on city property. this year or the prior 2 years. I want to get your thoughts on this hardball game that the executives seem to be playing in these strikes, and what do you think it'll do to this labor equation? Look at that when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin Ultra Strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it, yeah, roll it, yeah, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl, yeah. It's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried New Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Netflix stocks are up after they have, cracked down on people sharing Netflix accounts, and I guess they've seen a surge in subscriber growth because of that. Their stock price is up. Seems to be quite a lucrative business, and yet we have very rich studio executives saying, well, the actors are being unrealistic. The demands are going to crush this industry. And it seems like they're taking really hard-line tactics and really hard-line talking points. How do you think this plays out for workers, Dr. Thomas?
Wow, this is very complex, but very historical, too. Frederick Douglass told us power concedes nothing without a demand. So, those who are in power will continue to hoard power and oppress people. We've seen it since the late 1800s, even up until now in the labor movement, where the beginnings of corporate America partnered with the state and politicians and the police force to maintain the oppression, the unsafe circumstances that were going on with workers. And when they got out of line, law enforcement whipped them into line. So we stand with the actors, the writers, the hotel workers, the UPS and logistic workers, and it's the inhumanity, right, that we're seeing without respect to color in certain instances. And we know that Black folks have a, kind of a double or triple problem, particularly if you're white. I mean, if you're a Black woman, it's triple discrimination. So how it ends, I'm not certain, but I thank God that the people are exercising their God-given and inherent voice and power. And what we teach and what we understand is that we do have power. We just have to figure out how to harness it, how to use it collectively, how to come together to organize it and to move our agenda.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Dr. Nosakhere Thomas. I've got about a minute here, and I hand the mic to you. And what do you want to leave us with today?
Yes, I just want to say thank you. You've been a fantastic host, Dominique. We appreciate you so much. And so the challenges, the unique challenges have been for our workers, child care, fuel costs, living costs, the fallout from COVID, math trauma, school trauma, and these kinds of things. And so we need to support the programs, the pre-apprenticeship programs, whether they be LA-based, LA Black Worker Center, Inland Empire Black Worker Center, San Diego Black Worker Center, and help support in ways that will be meaningful, impactful to the Black workers and ultimately our Black community.
Well, appreciate the work that you're doing there. It's certainly needed. And again, if you want to connect or you know someone that needs to connect out there in the IE, IEBWC.org, IEBWC.org, or give them a call, 909-763-3710. We've got news, traffic, and sports, and then it's a great time to call me on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
It's a Thursday, July 20th. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is coming to the defense of former President Trump for his actions centered around the January 6th Capitol attack.